So you are heading to Las Vegas tomorrow. There's something going on there.
Yes, first Democratic presidential debate, and I'm going to do interviews in advance of the debate and support Secretary Clinton.
Many people might know that Secretary Clinton has long been a supporter of Kirsten, but I don't know if people know quite the history of how influential she was in your decision to leave the private sector. 10 years ago, Kirsten was a partner at Boies Schiller. 10 years ago, not that long ago, to leave and go into public service. So tell us about that moment. It was actually in 1995, I think?
Yeah, so I'm in my late 20s. I'm working at Davis Polk, endless hours, and Hillary Clinton had just gone to China in 1995 to give her big speech, Women's Rights are Human Rights and Human Rights are Women's speech, in China. And I was so fascinated that she gave that speech from that place to the world. And I realized I was most upset that I wasn't invited to the conference. And I realized I wasn't invited because I wasn't involved in politics. And so that got me involved in local politics in New York City. And I joined this women's group called the Women's Leadership Forum. And the first big event was at the River Club. Any New Yorkers know it's a very fancy club. And I am a young woman, and I am going to this big event, and there's 100 women in the room, and I'm standing in the back. And Hillary Clinton is our speaker. And she looks out into the room, and she says, decisions are made every day in Washington, and if you are not involved in those decisions, and you don't like what they decide, you have no one to blame but yourself. And I'm standing there, and I start to sweat. And I'm thinking, oh my God, she's talking to me, and she's telling me I have to run for office. I'm not ready. And I'm feeling that this is a speech she's giving directly to me. And I, at that moment, realized I really have to change my life. And I call it my off-the-sidelines moment, because it was the moment that I truly felt I have to change the trajectory of my life. And I was a young associate, hoping to make partner at a big white shoe law firm. And at that moment, I said, I have to find a way towards public service. And from that moment, it took 10 years of volunteering on other people's campaigns, taking campaign school training classes, getting involved in whether it was Hillary's Senate race or gubernatorial races, to have the actual self-confidence to say, I want to be a candidate, I want to run for office. So it takes time, and women sometimes were our biggest self-doubters, but Hillary Clinton was such an important role model for me, and she was someone I looked up to, and she really called me into service in a really important way.
And then you did launch your first bid. You launched your first bid in 2006 for Congress, and listening to Congresswoman Stefanik reminded me of this story about you, because you defeated a 4-term incumbent Republican, and no one thought you could do this.
Yes. So my district and her district now overlap, and it is a 2-to-1 Republican district. It's not surprising that Elise was elected in that district, and her biggest contest was her primary. But when I ran, it was the most Republican district in the state, and literally the only person who had any faith in my success was my mother. Not my husband, not my father, no one else in my circle. But I had lovely partners in New York who said, oh, we'll see you in a few months. Good luck with your campaign. And so, but I diligently worked really hard, ran around the district, got to know people, stood up for the things I really believed in, and sometimes miracles do happen. And when I won that race, the New York Times dubbed me a dragon slayer, with another dragon slayer who's in this room, Gabby Giffords. Gabby Giffords, where are you? There was 3 young women who got elected to red districts that year, and it was me, Gabby, and a woman from South Dakota.
You did show an early interest in politics, though. When you were age 6, you said you wanted to be a senator, and shortly after that, you started organizing clubs with your friends. I have the minutes of one of those clubs. Should I read them?
Go ahead.
You were the secretary. Elaine was shouting, and Erin started to cry. It snowed, and it was dark, so we could not have the meeting in the fort. In the treasury, we have $1.
I was a very fastidious young girl.
A future foretold.
Very studious notes.
Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you, just getting back to Secretary Clinton, because here we are in the middle of this very heated campaign already. Her campaign has been tarnished by this controversy around her email use. Do you think this is a fair concern?
I think it's a concern that a lot of Americans had about why she had this email, how she used it. And I think Hillary's been very forthcoming and straightforward about her use of the email. And hopefully, in the debate, we will debate things other than her email.
What do you make of the president saying yesterday that it was a legitimate concern and that it was a mistake, even as he was also saying it was a partisan attack?
Hillary has said it was a mistake. I think she wishes she didn't have the separate server. I think she wishes she did it differently. But we do know that the whole attack from the House committee was entirely partisan because that's been admitted. But I think at the end of the day, people are concerned about their kitchen table issues. They're concerned about how am I going to afford to send my kids to college? How am I going to afford to start a business? How am I going to afford to have a home? And so I truly believe this is the early stage, and we will now start focusing on the national issues that really do matter to people.
Do you think that Joe Biden is going to get in the race? The clock is ticking.
If I was a betting woman, I'd say he is.
You would?
Yes, he's a politician.
Do you think we'll learn that in the next 24 hours?
No, I have no idea. If I had to bet today, I'd say he will.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's always aspired to it. He's been the vice president for a long time. I think he's a wonderful public servant who cares deeply about the issues. And he's a champion, and he wants to fight for the values and his goals for America. So if I had to bet today, I'd bet he does.
And you'd welcome him into the race?
Of course. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Primaries are good for all. Look what we're learning in the Republican primary.
I was just going to get to that.
How much have we learned? So much. So I think primaries are generally a very good thing, and I think they help people not only become more articulate about their issues and where they differ. So let's just say we have Vice President Biden, we have Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. If they differ on any issue, I promise you they will all be very precise about why they differ and where they differ, and that's good for us because we will hear more about the candidates and what they care about.
And what do you make of Donald Trump? Do you think he could be the nominee?
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yay, nay, what do we think? Could he be the nominee? Yeah. I think that's a big no from these powerful women. I think that's something to pay attention to.
So it's really important to be heard. I hope you all vote.
And Carly Fiorina is another woman who has been with us years ago. What do you make of her campaign?
She's a strong woman who's really holding her own in a very, very expansive field. And I think it's important that women run. I think it's really important that women show not only do they have an agenda for this country, but they have strong values and they're going to fight for them. And I think it's great for America to have strong women candidates running. Your
time in the Senate has been characterized by your tackling tough issues with huge tenaciousness. I don't think that's a word. You've been very vocal. You've taken on very tough fights.
Close enough.
Your latest is a bill you introduced this year for paid family leave. Tell me why that's so important to you.
Well, I think it's necessary because I truly believe our workplace policies are very much stuck in the Mad Men era when dad went to work and mom stayed at home. But we know 8 out of 10 moms are actually working, and in 40% of the time, the mom is a single mom, the only breadwinner for her family or the major breadwinner for her family. So we need workplace policies that support families, and I think paid leave, it should be something we treat exactly like Social Security. It should be an earned benefit that people buy into during their whole career. It doesn't matter if you're working part-time, full-time, small business, large business, it's yours. And the way I wrote the bill is very much similar to how Social Security works. You put $2 in an account every week for yourself. Your employer matches it, $2. So you're not talking about a lot of money, $140 on average per employee per year. That's a very small amount of money. And so I typically look at employers and said, would you, for your employees, buy them a cup of coffee a week? Because that's all it is. It's the cost of a cup of coffee a week. And good employers say absolutely. And this would also level the playing field for small businesses because they don't have to create some paid leave program that they have to pay for. It also helps in the gig economy because if you have 2 or 3 different employers or you're changing jobs very often in your career, that leave is there for you when your mother's dying of cancer, when your husband's gravely sick, when you have a new child. And it has to be gender neutral. It has to be something all employees can aspire to take when they need it. And we will see a growth in the economy because right now, not having paid leave is an artificial drag on the economy. Women lose over $300,000 in their lifetime. Men lose over $200,000 in their lifetime, both in pay and retirement because they don't have paid leave. And when a woman ramps off her career, and you will know this from personal experience and from those of your colleagues, once they ramp off, they never ramp back on at the same level or as high a salary. So it artificially drags down their earning potential and their ability to reach their full potential in the workplace.
So who in the room thinks we need to have federally supported paid leave? So this probably won't pass in this Congress, but you take on these issues that you call long lead projects, meaning even if they don't pass, you still are able to move the conversation forward.
Right. So when I started talking about paid leave 2 years ago, nobody was talking about paid leave. I didn't even have most Democrats on the bill. Today, we have a Republican candidate, Marco Rubio, who has issued his own version of paid leave. Granted, his is a much lighter touch. It's just a tax credit, so not all businesses will do it or will have to do it. But the fact that he feels he needs to have a policy is a really good thing. The same thing's happening in New York State. Our Republican legislature also has a paid leave policy, similar to Marco's tax credit. But I'm just grateful that national candidates are talking about the need for paid leave so that all of our workers can thrive and reach their full potential.
And you are a working mom yourself. You have 2 sons, and you are the primary caregiver. You do pick up every night. It's why you're hard to get for events like this.
Yes, I did.
It's pretty amazing.
I made fish sticks and mac and cheese and steamed vegetables tonight for our little Henry. He was very happy that it's his favorite meal, so he got the full works.
So you can clearly do anything. We're really out of time, which is just
Really?
devastating. So yes, I know, it flies
take a little
by.
more.
I can take a little more?
Yeah.
All right, I'll take a little more. So it's been suggested that you would make a good presidential candidate. I'll read some headlines. Could Gillibrand run for president? And Kirsten Gillibrand, a better bet than Hillary? It was USA Today. Would you like to run for president?
I don't aspire to it. I feel that the job I have right now is amazing, and I feel like I can create national policy as well as create a national debate. And I'm supporting Hillary. I really want her to run. I think she is the most qualified person we could have running for president today, and I'm going to work very hard to see her get elected.
In the meantime, how about vice president?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
What do we think?
No, actually, Hillary and I cannot be on the same ticket because we are from the same state.
Okay.
It's a constitutional impediment.
Okay.
It's too bad.
Okay, they're telling me we have to go.
I
I
have to
wish
go.
we could talk more. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here,
you.
and thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay.